Are you aware of the subtle ways people might be manipulating you? Today, we will dive into Robert Greene's provocative book, The 48 Laws of Power. While many dismiss it as a manual for unethical manipulation, Greene argues that to navigate life successfully, we must confront the harsh realities of human behavior. After all, we interact with others daily, and ignoring these truths can leave us vulnerable to manipulation. Think of these laws as tools, neither inherently good nor evil. Their impact depends entirely on how you choose to wield them. Law 1. Never outshine the master. Imagine this. Nicolas Fouquet, a powerful finance minister under Louis XIV, throws an extravagant party to impress the king. It was the most spectacular event anyone had ever seen, featuring fireworks, lavish feasts, and beautiful gardens that would later inspire the construction of the Grand Palace of Versailles, a symbol of royal power and grandeur. But instead of being flattered, the king felt overshadowed. Days later, Fouquet was arrested and spent the rest of his life in prison. Why? He outshined his master, making Louis XIV feel small in comparison. Now, let's look at Galileo. When he discovered Jupiter's moons, he didn't just announce it. He dedicated his discovery to Cosimo the son of the Medici family, tying their name to the stars. Rather than outshining his master, Galileo made the Medici family shine brighter. As a result, he secured their protection and patronage for life. The lesson here is clear. Never outshine the person above you. Make them feel secure, even if it means downplaying your talents. When you make your superiors look good, you protect your position. But beware. If your superior is weak or on the decline, outshining them might be the right move. Just be cautious and patient. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. We often assume our friends will always have our best interests at heart. But when it comes to power, trusting friends blindly can be dangerous. Friends can become envious, entitled, or even betray you when they no longer benefit from your success. On the other hand, enemies, when turned into allies, have something to prove and can often be more loyal than friends. Take the example of Michael III, the Byzantine emperor in the 9th century. He trusted his close friend Basil, elevating him from humble origins to a position of power. But Basil, fueled by ambition, eventually betrayed Michael and had him murdered. This is a cautionary tale of how dangerous it can be to put too much trust in friends, who often take you for granted or betray you when it suits them. Contrastingly, Emperor Sung of China in the 10th century turned former enemies into loyal subjects. He knew that enemies, spared from death, would often become more grateful and trustworthy than friends who only expect more favors. The key lesson here is that enemies can sometimes be more valuable than friends. A former enemy has everything to prove, while friends may undermine you due to envy or expectation. Use enemies strategically, and they may become your most loyal allies. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. When it comes to gaining and maintaining power, the art of keeping your true motives hidden is invaluable. By concealing your real intentions, you keep others guessing, unable to prepare defenses against you. A perfect example of this comes from Otto von Bismarck, a German statesman in the mid-19th century. In 1850, Bismarck was a passionate advocate for Prussian power and the unification of Germany. He wanted war with Austria, but when the moment came, he surprised everyone by delivering a speech in Parliament opposing the war. Bismarck even praised Austria, confusing the public and his fellow deputies. But Bismarck had a calculated plan. He knew Prussia's military was not ready for war, and if the conflict were lost, his career would be at risk. By concealing his true desire for conflict, he threw everyone off the scent. Eventually, he rose to power and executed his real plan, leading Prussia to victory over Austria and uniting Germany under Prussian leadership. The lesson: conceal your intentions by misleading others about your true goals. Let them focus on what you want them to see while you work on your real agenda behind the scenes. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. One of the most powerful strategies in life is to speak less. The more you talk, the more likely you are to reveal too much or say something foolish. By saying less, you project an image of control and leave people guessing, often creating an aura of mystery. A great example of this strategy comes from the famous artist Andy Warhol. In his early life, Warhol realized that people often turned against those who talked too much. He learned that by remaining quiet and vague, he held more power. In interviews, Warhol would give short, cryptic answers that confused and intrigued his audience. Journalists would struggle to interpret his words, searching for profound meaning in his often meaningless responses. This made Warhol seem mysterious and wise, enhancing his reputation as a genius. By saying less, you not only avoid revealing your true thoughts, but you also gain the upper hand. People will read into your words more than is there, and they'll respect you more for your brevity. The lesson? Be cautious with your words. The less you say, the more control you have over how others perceive you. Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Reputation is one of the most powerful assets you can have. It can make or break your success in both personal and professional endeavors. Once established, it can protect you, intimidate your rivals, and open doors. But if it slips, even slightly, you become vulnerable to attack from all sides. That's why guarding your reputation is paramount. One notable example is General Erwin Rommel during World War II. Rommel was a German general known for his strategic brilliance in desert warfare. His reputation for being cunning and unpredictable spread so widely that entire cities would evacuate upon hearing of his approach, even when his forces were depleted and outnumbered. Rommel's reputation alone became a powerful weapon. Reputation must be cultivated carefully. Start by focusing on one exceptional quality, whether it's honesty, intelligence, or charm, and build it over time. A strong reputation will work for you without requiring constant effort, and people will perceive your future actions through the lens of your established image. The lesson: guard your reputation fiercely and use it as a tool to magnify your influence. If it becomes compromised, fix it immediately before the damage spreads. Law 6. Court attention at all costs. In a world where everyone is competing for attention, the worst mistake you can make is to blend into the crowd. To achieve power, you must stand out and make sure people notice you. Being seen and heard is essential. Without attention, you are invisible and irrelevant. This makes attention one of the greatest forms of currency in the pursuit of power. A great example of this is P.T. Barnum, the famous 19th century showman. Barnum believed that all publicity is good publicity. Whether people were praising or criticizing him, it didn't matter, as long as they were talking about him. When his shows were attacked by critics, Barnum went out of his way to offer those same critics the best seats at his next performance. He even went so far as to write anonymous criticisms of his own shows just to keep people intrigued and talking. For Barnum, being ignored was the worst possible outcome. By drawing attention to himself, whether through spectacle or scandal, Barnum built an empire of entertainment. he knew that attention is power, and silence is the death of influence. The lesson: in the world of power, standing out is crucial. If you can't garner positive attention, stir up controversy. Just never allow yourself to be forgotten. Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Powerful people understand that time and energy are limited resources. Instead of doing everything yourself, learn to use the knowledge, skills, and efforts of others to advance your own goals. By letting others handle the hard work, you appear more efficient, powerful, and capable while saving yourself time and energy. A great example is Thomas Edison, who was less of an inventor and more of a businessman and publicist. He often hired experts to do the technical work for him, while he took the credit for their inventions. This allowed Edison to gain widespread fame and recognition, even though much of the work was done by others, such as Nikola Tesla. The lesson here is that by leveraging the efforts of others, you can achieve more without exhausting yourself. Ensure that you claim the credit for their work, as this is a key aspect of maintaining power. People will remember your name, not the names of those behind the scenes. The takeaway: use the talents and energy of others to your advantage, and don't let modesty prevent you from taking the credit you deserve. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Power is best maintained when you are in control, and one of the most effective ways to do that is by making others come to you. When you force your opponents to act first, they abandon their plans and are forced to operate on your terms. By using bait, you can lure them into your territory, where you hold the advantage. During the 1905 Russo-Japanese War, Admiral Togo Heihachiro masterfully used this strategy. He spread misinformation to lure the Russian fleet into taking a longer, more difficult route. By forcing the Russians to travel this exhausting path, they arrived in Japanese waters, weary and overextended. The waiting Japanese navy, well rested and strategically positioned, easily defeated the Russian fleet. This law teaches that when others are forced to come to you, they are in a weaker position. Whether in negotiations, conflicts, or everyday encounters, the person who is reacting is at a disadvantage, and you maintain the upper hand. The lesson: control is about positioning. Make others come to you, ensuring that you dictate the terms and remain in power. Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Arguing with others is often futile. It rarely leads to genuine change of mind and usually results in bitterness or resentment. The true path to power lies in proving your point through actions rather than words. Demonstrating your capabilities makes a stronger impact than endless debates. Consider the example of Nikita Khrushchev, the former Soviet leader, who was once interrupted by a heckler during a speech in which he was denouncing the crimes of Stalin. The heckler shouted, "You were a colleague of Stalin's. Why didn't you stop him then?" Khrushchev, unable to see who had spoken, barked out, "Who said that?" Silence fell over the room as no one dared to respond. After a few moments, Khrushchev quietly remarked, "Now you know why I didn't stop him." Instead of merely arguing that Stalin's colleagues were paralyzed by fear, Khrushchev made the audience feel the terror of confronting a powerful leader. His demonstration was powerful, making the point clear without further words. At that moment, everyone in the room experienced the fear and paranoia that had kept people silent during Stalin's reign. The lesson: avoid futile arguments and focus on delivering results. Let your actions prove your point, as they speak louder and more convincingly than words ever could. Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Emotions are highly contagious, and the people you surround yourself with have a profound impact on your life and fortunes. Spending time with those who are miserable, unlucky, or constantly complaining can drag you down into their spiral of negativity and misfortune. These individuals often wallow in self-pity, blame others for their problems, or focus relentlessly on the negative, which spreads to everyone around them like a contagion. Their troubles are rarely random. They create a pattern of failure through their own actions and a defeatist mindset. By associating with such individuals, you risk absorbing their negative energy and outlook, which can erode your confidence, optimism, and ability to make clear decisions. Like a contagious disease, their misfortunes will slowly infect your life, dragging you down with them. The more you try to help or understand them, the deeper you get entangled in their world of misery. To maintain your own power, you must be ruthless in guarding your emotional and mental space. Align yourself with positive, ambitious people who inspire you to achieve more. Avoid those who bring negativity into your life, as their pessimism can act like an anchor, holding you back from your true potential. Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. To gain true power, you must ensure that others rely on you for their success, happiness, and prosperity. The more they depend on your presence and support, the greater control you have over them, securing your influence and independence. Consider Michelangelo and his relationship with Pope Julius II during the Renaissance. Michelangelo, renowned for his unparalleled skill in sculpture and painting, was commissioned by Pope Julius II to design a grand marble tomb. However, disagreements arose between them, and Michelangelo left Rome in frustration. To the surprise of many in his circle, not only did the Pope not dismiss Michelangelo, but he also sought him out and pleaded for him to stay. The Pope realized that while Michelangelo could easily find another patron, he would never find another artist with Michelangelo's genius. The lesson here is clear. You don't need to be a Michelangelo, but you must develop a unique skill or quality that sets you apart. Create a situation where those around you cannot easily replace you, making yourself indispensable. True power lies in making others feel that their success and happiness are vitally linked to your presence. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. The strategic use of honesty and generosity can lower the defenses of even the most cautious individuals. One act of sincerity or an apparent gift can create a sense of trust that makes it easier to manipulate your target. By appearing to let down your guard, you encourage others to do the same, opening them up to your influence. Consider the ancient Greek strategy during the Trojan War. After 10 years of futile siege, the Greeks, led by Odysseus, devised a cunning plan. They built a giant wooden horse, hid their soldiers inside it, and presented it to the Trojans as a gift. The Trojans, seeing the gesture as a sign of the Greeks' surrender, let the horse into their city. Once inside the walls of Troy, the Greek soldiers emerged from the horse at night and opened the gates for their army, leading to the fall of the city. This act of selective generosity did more to conquer Troy than 10 years of direct warfare. The lesson, just like the Trojan horse, a well-timed gesture of generosity can disarm even the most guarded opponent. When you combine selective honesty with calculated kindness, you can gain trust and penetrate the defenses of others, setting the stage for your real intentions. Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. When you need assistance, appealing to someone's sense of mercy or gratitude often fails. Most people act in their own interest, driven by what benefits them. To gain their support successfully, frame your request in a way that aligns with their self-interest, allowing them to see a potential gain. The tale of the peasant and the apple tree illustrates this well. In this story, a peasant had an apple tree that bore no fruit and served only as a perch for birds. Frustrated, he decided to cut it down. The birds, desperate to save their home, begged the peasant to spare the tree, promising to sing and lighten his labors in return. Ignoring their pleas, the peasant struck the tree with his axe. When he reached its hollow, he discovered a hive filled with honey. Tasting the sweetness, he abandoned his axe and decided to preserve the tree, now seeing its value. The lesson: when asking for help, uncover something in your request that benefits the other party. Emphasize what they stand to gain, and they will be far more willing to assist you. Appeals to self-interest are far more effective and reliable than expecting others to act out of the goodness of their hearts. Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Knowledge is power, and the best way to gain knowledge about others is to pose as a friend while secretly gathering information. When you present yourself as a friend, people naturally let down their guard and reveal more than they intend to. This gives you the advantage of learning their secrets and understanding their intentions without them realizing it. Let's look at the example of Joseph Duveen, one of the most influential art dealers of the early 20th century. Duveen was determined to make the reserved and difficult-to-reach industrialist Andrew Mellon his client. To do this, he spent years studying Mellon's habits and preferences, even going so far as to employ Mellon's staff to gather intelligence about the man's tastes and routines. Duveen eventually positioned himself in the same hotel as Mellon, arranging to encounter him by chance, and soon became friends with him. Armed with his extensive knowledge of Mellon's interests, Duveen was able to charm and impress him, turning Mellon into one of his most loyal clients. The lesson: to gain power and influence, work as a spy under the guise of friendship. Use every interaction as an opportunity to extract valuable information. This way, you can anticipate others' moves and stay one step ahead of them. Law 15. Crush your enemy. Totally. When dealing with your rivals, it's not enough to simply defeat them. You must crush them completely. Partial victories leave room for revenge, allowing your enemies to regroup and come back stronger. To secure your power, you must ensure that no threat remains. The story of Xiang Yu and Liu Peng during the power struggles of ancient China demonstrates this well. Xiang Yu, a fierce and powerful general, defeated Liu Peng in battle and had the opportunity to crush him entirely. However, he showed mercy, allowing Liu Peng to escape and regroup. This act of leniency proved to be his downfall. Liu Peng rebuilt his forces, came back stronger, and eventually defeated Xiang Yu, seizing control and founding the Han dynasty. The key takeaway: when it comes to enemies, leave no room for them to rise again. Crush them utterly, so they can never retaliate or challenge your position. A foe left alive is a snake in the grass, waiting for the right moment to strike back. Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. To create value, make yourself scarce. Constant presence breeds familiarity, which often leads to indifference. By strategically withdrawing, you enhance your value and deepen others' desire for your presence. Let's look at the story of Deioces, the ancient Median king who started as a respected judge. As his reputation grew, People flocked to him for judgments, and he became indispensable. At the height of his power, Deioces suddenly decided he had had enough. He would no longer sit in the chair of judgment or settle disputes, claiming he was so consumed by others' problems that he had neglected his own affairs. With this, he retired from public life. Chaos ensued in his absence, and the people, desperate for his wisdom, begged him to return, not just as a judge, but as their king. Deioces agreed on the condition that he be granted absolute power. By withdrawing at his peak, he transformed himself from a simple judge into a monarch, turning the people's need into a desire they couldn't ignore. The takeaway: absence makes the heart grow fonder. Withdraw strategically, and you will be more admired and respected. Create a pattern of presence and absence to return with an aura of renewed importance and authority. Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Humans crave routine and predictability. It gives them a sense of control. By being deliberately unpredictable, you can unsettle and confuse people, keeping them off balance and forcing them to waste mental energy trying to anticipate your next move. This unpredictability puts you in a position of power. The book gives the example of chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer, who used this strategy masterfully during the 1972 World Chess Championship. Fischer's unpredictable behavior, arriving late, complaining about conditions, even forfeiting a game, threw his opponent, Boris Spassky, off balance. Spassky, typically calm and strategic, was unsettled by Fischer's unpredictable behavior, which disrupted his focus and ultimately led to Fischer's victory. The lesson: people rely on patterns to feel secure. When you disrupt those patterns, you create confusion and fear, giving you the upper hand. However, unpredictability must be used carefully. If you are constantly erratic, people will lose trust in you and view you as unstable. Use unpredictability to keep others on edge, but never to the point where it damages your reputation or relationships. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. In a world full of risks, isolating oneself may seem like a path to safety, yet, in practice, withdrawing can make you more vulnerable. In a military sense, a fortress is often a strategic mistake. It symbolizes isolation and becomes an easy target for enemies. Designed for defense, a fortress actually limits your flexibility, turning into a trap. Everyone knows where you are, and a siege, even if unsuccessful, can imprison you within its walls. Moreover, the confined space of a fortress makes it especially vulnerable to plagues and diseases, turning isolation into a dangerous liability. Beyond physical isolation, cutting yourself off from others disconnects you from the flow of information, ideas, and opportunities. It makes you blind to changes and unable to adapt to new threats or shifts in power dynamics. Without connections, you lose influence and become less effective at navigating challenges. True power lies in staying engaged with the world, where you can form alliances, gather intelligence, and remain adaptable. By being visible and connected, you gain access to support and insights that a fortress could never provide, making you stronger and more resilient than hiding away. Law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. In your pursuit of power, recognizing different types of people is crucial. Some may forgive slights, while others become lifelong enemies over perceived disrespect. The key is knowing who to approach cautiously. Offending someone with a fragile ego or a long memory can lead to prolonged struggles. A historical example is the conflict between Genghis Khan and the Khwarezmian Shah, Muhammad. In 1219, Muhammad received an embassy from Genghis Khan, offering gifts from the Mongol Empire and aiming to establish peaceful trade relations. Genghis Khan sought to reopen the Silk Route to Europe and proposed sharing it with Muhammad. However, Muhammad, seeing Khan as an upstart from the east, dismissed the offer. To him, it seemed arrogant for Khan to seek equality with someone so clearly superior. Khan tried again, sending ambassadors, but the Shah executed them. Deeply offended, Genghis Khan launched a brutal invasion that destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire. This story illustrates the danger of offending a powerful adversary without understanding their temperament. The Shah's underestimation of Genghis Khan turned a potential alliance into ruin. It's crucial to study your opponents before making any moves, understanding their insecurities and boundaries. Confident individuals might brush off minor offenses, but prideful ones can react harshly. The lesson? Even small insults can linger. Avoid confrontations until you know who you're dealing with. Misjudging someone's nature can turn a small mistake into a significant threat. Law 20. Do not commit to anyone. It is unwise to quickly take sides or commit to any cause or group. By maintaining independence, you can manipulate situations to your advantage and keep others pursuing you. This allows you to play sides against each other, making others compete for your support and keeping you in a position of power. An example of this approach is Isabella d'Este, the Marquess of Mantua, during the Italian Renaissance. When King Louis XII of France invaded Milan, Isabella faced a difficult decision. Supporting her old allies in Milan would invite French aggression, but aligning with Louis could create enemies among other Italian states. Rather than taking sides, Isabella chose to befriend Louis with gifts and charm while keeping her distance. She refused to fully commit to him or any other power, instead maintaining a position of strategic neutrality. This neutrality made Isabella a sought-after ally and allowed her to secure favors and protection from various rulers without sacrificing Mantua's independence. By refusing to align too closely with any side, she kept Mantua safe as larger powers exhausted themselves in conflict. This tactic gives you flexibility. If you attach yourself too closely to one side, you risk being dragged down by their failures. By staying above the conflict, you can adapt as circumstances change, keeping control. Engage just enough to keep others interested but remain elusive and adaptable. Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. People dislike feeling inferior or outsmarted. To gain the upper hand, make others feel smarter than they are, disarming their suspicions and allowing you to guide them. When people believe they are clever, they rarely suspect ulterior motives. A classic example is the 19th century diamond hoax by Philip Arnold and John Slack in the United States. The two claimed to have discovered a hidden diamond mine, but played the part of unworldly men as if they had stumbled upon their fortune by chance. To make their story believable, they planted real diamonds in a secret location and invited an expert to verify their claim. The expert watched as they unearthed the planted stones and returned with a positive report, which further convinced wealthy investors. By acting modest and naive, Arnold and Slack made the investors believe they had the upper hand in negotiations. Eager to exploit what they thought were clueless prospectors, the investors invested millions in the supposed mine without thorough investigation. Confident that they were outsmarting the prospectors, they never suspected a trick. Only later did they realize they had been deceived, with Arnold and Slack disappearing with the money. The lesson: By appearing less intelligent, you make others overconfident, blinding them to your true intentions and giving you control over the situation. Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When facing a stronger opponent, it's often better to surrender rather than fight for honor. Surrender gives you time to recover, gather information, and plan a counterattack. By yielding outwardly, you can disarm your opponent and prepare for your next move in secret. In 473 BC, King Gujian of Yue faced a crushing defeat against the ruler of Wu at the Battle of Fujiao. Rather than fleeing, he chose to surrender, handing over his wealth and serving the Wu king as a humble stable worker. For 3 years, he maintained an appearance of loyalty, eventually earning the Wu ruler's trust and permission to return home. However, Gujian spent those years gathering information and waiting for the right moment to strike. When Wu suffered from a severe drought and internal conflicts, Gujian seized the opportunity. He raised an army, invaded Wu, and achieved a decisive victory. This story shows the power of strategic surrender. By submitting rather than resisting, Gujian bought time and flexibility to plan a devastating counterattack. His patience allowed him to study his enemy and strike when they were most vulnerable. Law 23. Concentrate your forces. Focus is crucial when seeking power. By concentrating your efforts and resources on a single, strong point, you maximize your strength and increase your chances of accomplishment. This approach is more effective than spreading your energy across multiple, weaker targets, which dilutes your power. The author gives the example of Giacomo Casanova, an 18th century Italian adventurer, writer, and notorious lover. He attributed much of his accomplishments to his ability to focus intensely on a single goal. Whether pursuing a romantic interest or a challenging objective, he directed all his energy toward it. When he became interested in a woman, he devoted himself entirely to her, shutting out all other distractions. His complete focus made him exceptionally seductive. This determination also helped him escape from the infamous Leeds prison in Venice, a prison from which no one had ever escaped. Even when a change in his cell location ruined months of digging, he persisted until he broke free. As Casanova wrote, "I have always believed that when a man gets it into his head to do something, and when he exclusively occupies himself in that design, he must succeed, whatever the difficulties. That man will become Grand Vizier or Pope." When pursuing a goal, direct your resources toward the most promising opportunity. Concentrated effort creates impact, allowing you to achieve more with fewer resources and build lasting power. Law 24. Play the perfect courtier. A courtier traditionally served as an advisor or companion to a king or queen, skillfully influencing those in power without offending them. While royal courts may have faded, the dynamics of power remain unchanged. Many people in positions of power believe the sun revolves around them, and those who know how to navigate these dynamics will gain power. Today, courtiers aren't found in palaces, but in boardrooms, offices, and social circles, wherever influence is at play. To succeed in these modern courts, it's essential to understand the rules of the environment and know how to subtly manipulate them. A successful courtier knows to avoid bragging, as it stirs resentment, and to make hard work appear effortless, earning admiration. Flattery is another tool, but it must be used sparingly to avoid suspicion. Downplaying one's own talents can make a superior look better by contrast. A skilled courtier stands out just enough to be noticed, but never so much that they seem to seek attention. Adjusting one's style, controlling emotions, and being self-aware are crucial. Courtiers must adapt, avoid direct criticism, and be a pleasure to be around. Those who master these skills, like the courtiers of old, can turn social finesse into influence, building power without provoking envy. Law 25. Recreate yourself. To gain and maintain power, take control of your own image and not let others define you. This law emphasizes reshaping yourself to adapt to changing circumstances and keep others intrigued. By constantly reinventing your persona, you maintain influence and avoid being confined by expectations. A powerful example is Julius Caesar. He understood how to control perception. As a young man in Rome, he won public favor by hosting grand spectacles, like gladiator games, using his own wealth to entertain the masses. These events built a reputation for generosity and strength, distinguishing him among Rome's elite. In warfare, Caesar took on the role of a heroic leader, always at the forefront with his troops. He prided himself on his skills, often outshining his soldiers in bravery and endurance. Riding into battle on the strongest horse, he made sure his men saw him leading them, becoming a powerful symbol. His soldiers followed him with unwavering loyalty, believing in his vision as if it were their own. The takeaway: control your image and use theatrical elements to your advantage. Reinventing yourself allows you to appear larger than life, adapting to new roles and environments. Just as an actor changes roles, you can use calculated shifts in your persona to stay unpredictable, maintain interest, and use each transformation to further your influence and power. Law 26. Keep your hands clean. In the pursuit of power, maintaining a flawless public image is crucial. You must seem above reproach, free from blame for any misdeeds or controversial actions. The key to achieving this is to use scapegoats or proxies to take the fall for you while you remain untarnished. By allowing others to handle the dirty work, you can orchestrate your strategies from the shadows, keeping your reputation intact. Cesare Borgia, the notorious Italian leader, mastered this tactic. When faced with rebellious leaders in a recently conquered region, Borgia assigned the ruthless Ramiro de Orco to restore order through any means necessary. After de Orco brutally suppressed the region, Borgia knew that the harshness would provoke resentment. To absolve himself of any blame and please the public, Borgia publicly executed de Orco, presenting himself as the just ruler who corrected the excesses of his subordinate. His hands stayed clean, and he maintained his position of power. The lesson: never allow yourself to be publicly associated with controversy or scandal. Delegate questionable tasks to others, and when things go wrong, they can bear the consequences while you continue to appear virtuous and untouchable. Law 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. People have an overwhelming desire to believe in something bigger than themselves. By tapping into that need, you can build an unshakable following. This law is about offering people a cause or vision that feels meaningful, something that gives them a sense of purpose. The trick is to keep your message vague but full of promise. By leaving room for interpretation, you allow people to project their hopes and dreams onto your vision. This tactic is used by many charismatic leaders who create a near cult-like devotion among their followers. They use symbols, rituals, and even sacrifices to strengthen the emotional connection, making people feel like they are part of something important. These leaders become the face of the movement, and their followers become fiercely loyal, willing to do whatever it takes to support the cause. The takeaway: when you offer people a cause to believe in, you create a following that's loyal and emotionally invested. Use rituals and symbols to deepen that connection, and remember to keep your promises broad and hopeful. When people believe they're part of something bigger, they'll stay devoted and help you grow your power. Law 28. Enter action with boldness. In the power game, hesitation is your enemy. To succeed, you must act boldly. Timidity creates obstacles and invites failure. People are drawn to confidence, and bold actions not only capture attention, but also overpower your rivals. Even mistakes can be fixed with more boldness, while hesitation leads to missed opportunities. One of the best examples of boldness comes from the notorious con artist Count Victor Lustig. In the 1920s, Paris was facing financial struggles, and the Eiffel Tower needed costly repairs. Lustig seized this opportunity. Posing as a government official, he convinced scrap metal dealers that the French government planned to dismantle the Eiffel Tower. With complete confidence, he forged documents and held fake meetings in luxury hotels, making the scam seem legitimate. Lustig's boldness was so convincing that no one questioned him, and he sold the Eiffel Tower for scrap, twice. His audacious moves made the impossible seem plausible, pulling off one of the most famous cons in history. The lesson: boldness is power. When you act with certainty, you inspire trust and control. Even when risks are high, boldness often brings better results than hesitation. People respect decisive action, and with it, you'll find yourself in a stronger position of influence. Law 29. Plan all the way to the end. In the world of power, planning is everything, and the ending matters most. You must plan all the way to the finish, considering every possible consequence, obstacle, and twist of fortune that could undo your efforts or give others the glory. By thinking far ahead, you can guide fortune and control your future, ensuring you won't be caught off guard and that you'll know when to stop. A clear example of failing to plan to the end is the Athenians' disastrous Sicilian expedition in 415 BC. During the Peloponnesian War, Athens sought to invade Sicily, convinced it would bring them immense riches and a final victory. Blinded by ambition, they failed to consider the dangers. They underestimated the Sicilians' resolve to defend their homeland, ignored the threat of their enemies uniting, and didn't foresee that fighting on multiple fronts would stretch their forces too thin. The campaign ended in utter disaster, contributing to the fall of one of the greatest civilizations in history. The Athenians let the lure of short-term glory cloud their judgment and ignored the dangers that lay ahead. The lesson: don't let ambition blind you. Always plan for every outcome and prepare for the long term. Otherwise, you risk being crippled by the challenges you failed to anticipate. Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. How you present yourself is as important as what you achieve. Make your successes seem effortless by hiding the hard work behind them. People admire those who accomplish great things with ease, as it suggests natural talent and control. By staying calm and concealing your struggles, you create an aura of mastery, which make your power seem even greater. Revealing too much effort can diminish your accomplishments and provoke envy. Take Harry Houdini, one of the most famous magicians and escape artists of all time. Houdini would perform death-defying escapes, slipping out of handcuffs, chains, and locked boxes, often while submerged in water or hanging upside down. To the audience, his escapes looked effortless, almost magical, as though he didn't even break a sweat. But behind the scenes, Houdini spent countless hours practicing, preparing his body, and working out every possible detail to ensure nothing went wrong. He knew that if he showed any sign of struggle, the illusion would be broken and his mystique would fade. By making his performances look easy, Houdini built a reputation as a man of extraordinary skill, leaving audiences in awe of his seemingly supernatural abilities. The lesson here is clear: conceal the hard work and let others marvel at how effortlessly you achieve your goals. This aura of ease not only wins admiration, but also strengthens your influence. Law 31. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. To maintain power, control the choices people are given, guiding them toward the outcomes you desire. The key is to make them feel like they are in control, even as you limit their options to ones that benefit you. An example from the book is Ivan the Terrible, Russia's first Tsar. Faced with opposition from the boyars, the powerful nobility who constantly undermined his rule, Ivan used a clever tactic. In 1564, he abruptly abdicated the throne, leaving Russia in turmoil. Without a leader, the country spiraled into chaos, and the boyars realized the danger they faced. Desperate to avoid anarchy, the boyars begged Ivan to return. He had given them two stark options: chaos without him, or stability under his rule. By creating this illusion of choice, Ivan made them choose his return on his terms. He regained the throne with more power than before, ruling without interference from the nobility. The lesson here? By controlling the options, you shape the choices people make without appearing overbearing. People will think they are choosing freely, but in reality, you are guiding them toward the outcome that best serves your interests. Law 32. Play to people's fantasies. In the pursuit of power, appealing to people's fantasies is often more effective than confronting reality. People are frequently dissatisfied with their lives and long for escape or something better. By offering them an enticing dream or an idealized vision of the future, you capture their imagination and loyalty. In 16th century Venice, a man named Marco Bragadino claimed to have mastered alchemy, the supposed power to turn base metals into gold. Desperate for wealth, the Venetian authorities eagerly believed him, providing him with money, resources, and lavish accommodations in hopes of unimaginable riches. For years, Bragadino kept the fantasy alive with small demonstrations, showing just enough progress to sustain their belief. The Venetians, blinded by their desire for wealth, ignored any doubts. However, over time, frustration grew among officials and citizens who became impatient with Bragadino's luxurious lifestyle. They demanded proof of his abilities. Offended, Bragadino accused Venice of betraying him and left. He moved to Padua, then Munich, where the Duke of Bavaria, also desperate for wealth, welcomed him. As in Venice, Bragadino promised gold, but delivered only illusions, living comfortably while his new patrons, like the Venetians, fell for the dream. The takeaway: when you appeal to people's fantasies, you can guide them wherever you wish. People are often willing to ignore reality if the dream you offer is compelling enough. Control the fantasy, and you control the people. Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. Mastering influence involves uncovering others' hidden weaknesses, what Robert Greene calls their thumbscrews. Everyone has a gap in the castle wall, often an insecurity, uncontrollable emotion, or secret pleasure. Once found, this vulnerability becomes a point you can subtly press to guide their behavior. An example in the book is Count Victor Lustig, a con artist who targeted a wealthy but insecure businessman named Lawler. Lustig posed as a European aristocrat, charming Lawler while carefully observing him. He soon discovered that Lawler craved social status and quick wealth. Exploiting this need, Lustig introduced a money-making machine, claiming it could duplicate currency. After a staged demonstration, Lawler, enticed by his own desires, bought the device, only to later realize it was worthless. The author suggests applying this law by observing people's words, gestures, and unconscious signals, making them feel you're a sympathetic listener. Sharing a secret, real or fake, can prompt them to reveal vulnerabilities. Childhood needs, emotional voids, or uncontrollable emotions, vanity, fear, greed, are especially potent levers of influence. The takeaway: power lies in identifying and skillfully using others' hidden weaknesses. By finding and gently pressing these thumbscrews, you can influence others without force, guiding them toward outcomes that serve your interests. Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. The way you present yourself shapes how others see you. Appearing common or insecure often leads to disrespect, while an aura of confidence commands admiration. Acting as though you are destined for greatness inspires others to treat you as such, setting a tone of authority and influence. Greene highlights Christopher Columbus, who, despite his humble origins, refused to let his background limit him. Columbus presented himself as an aristocrat, fabricating a noble lineage and crafting a persona of refinement. When he approached the Spanish court seeking funds for his voyage, he spoke with confidence and carried himself as if he already held royal favor. His audacity and unwavering belief in his own destiny impressed Queen Isabella, who was persuaded to fund his ambitious voyage across the Atlantic. Even when faced with setbacks, Columbus maintained his air of authority and acted with unwavering self-assurance. By acting as if he were destined to discover a new world, he ultimately convinced others to see him in the same light. To master this law, cultivate a strategy of the crown. Carry yourself with dignity, set high standards, and project authority without arrogance. This self-assured presence will draw others to treat you with the respect and admiration fit for royalty. Law 35. Master the art of timing. When it comes to gaining power, timing is everything. To make the most of changing situations, you need to sense when to act and when to hold back. Success comes from reading the signs, noticing shifts in power, and aligning yourself with new leaders or movements. But be ready to change sides again if things begin to turn. Stay alert to changes beneath the surface. Don't cling to failing systems or people. Instead, watch for new opportunities and be prepared to back them when the time is right. Also, expect that whenever a new power rises, there will be a reaction against it. By being flexible, you can ride these waves and stay on top. Patience is crucial. During chaotic times, avoid acting too quickly. Keep a low profile, stay calm, and wait for the best moment to move forward. Mastering timing is about staying adaptable and making moves only when they'll have the biggest impact. By being calculated, you stand strong while others rush and stumble. This strategy strengthens your influence and marks you as someone who moves with precision. Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. When faced with minor irritations or offenses, the most powerful response is often to ignore them completely. By refusing to engage, you show that these issues aren't worth your time, which in itself demonstrates power. This restraint prevents you from wasting energy or becoming entangled in trivial conflicts. Ignoring provocations effectively handles people who thrive on attention. Without your reaction, they lose power, and any frustration on their part has no effect on you. Paying undue attention to small irritants or minor rivals can elevate their importance and make you appear petty. By allowing yourself to be drawn into conflicts with those beneath your influence, you risk weakening your own position. For example, President Kennedy's failed Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba in 1961 backfired, boosting Fidel Castro's reputation. The U.S. attempted to overthrow Castro using CIA-trained Cuban exiles, but his forces quickly defeated them. This failure made Castro appear stronger, reinforcing his image as a leader who could stand up to American power. Similarly, attempting to fix small mistakes or nuisances can draw unwanted attention and often makes the issue worse. In short, ignoring what you can't control robs it of power. By treating petty matters with indifference, you stay focused on larger goals, projecting authority and maintaining clarity of purpose. Law 37. Create compelling spectacles. Powerful visuals and grand gestures create an aura of influence that captures people's attention. By focusing on spectacle, you direct others' focus where you want it, keeping them engaged and distracted from deeper motives. A perfect example is Dr. Weissleder, known as the Moon Doctor of Berlin in the 1780s. His unusual treatments involved exposing patients to the moon's rays, drawing crowds eager to experience his mysterious methods. People from all classes waited in long lines outside an old beer hall, fascinated by this strange new approach. Inside, the hall was bathed in moonlight from tall windows. Weissleder would lift his patients toward the light, reciting incantations, as if channeling healing energy from the moon itself. Dr. Weissleder may have known nothing about medicine, but he understood human nature. This spectacle captivated the public, who returned again and again, convinced by the drama of the experience alone. The lesson? By crafting memorable, eye-catching visuals, you can create an impression of power that mere words can't achieve. People are drawn to symbols and spectacle. It's a natural, almost irresistible pull. Using this law means shaping perception through impactful visuals, keeping people focused on what you present rather than what lies beneath. Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. If you make a show of going against the times, flaunting your unconventional ideas and unorthodox ways, people will think you're only seeking attention and looking down on them. This provokes resentment, and they'll often find ways to punish you for making them feel inferior. To avoid this, blend in, keeping your unique thoughts to yourself while publicly following common norms and values. Share your originality only with those who can truly appreciate it. An example of this is Tommaso Campanella, a 16th century Italian philosopher who openly questioned Catholic doctrine during the intense Counter-Reformation period. A follower of materialist philosophy, Campanella rejected concepts like miracles and heaven, seeing them as church tools to control the masses. His outspoken views led to his arrest, where he was tortured and faced possible execution. Realizing his life was at stake, he feigned insanity, convincing the church his beliefs were harmless delusions. This act spared him from execution, reducing his sentence to life imprisonment. Even in prison, Campanella continued writing, but with subtlety. He embedded his true ideas within works that appeared to align with Catholic teachings, such as the Hispanic monarchy and atheism conquered, enabling him to communicate his philosophy while avoiding further persecution. The lesson: mask your beliefs when needed, allowing you to think freely without risking unnecessary social isolation or punishment. Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. In power dynamics, keeping calm and objective is essential. By provoking your opponents to react emotionally while you stay composed, you gain an advantage. When people act out of anger or frustration, they often lose perspective, making impulsive decisions that expose their weaknesses. In contrast, a controlled, calculated response reveals strength and keeps others guessing. The key is to avoid reacting impulsively to provocations. Anger and emotional outbursts not only make people look irrational, but can diminish their power by revealing a lack of self-control. This behavior can turn minor issues into exaggerated mistakes that erode respect over time. Rather than repressing emotions, which can lead to erratic behavior, shift your perspective. View conflicts as impersonal events. Recognize that anger often stems from accumulated frustrations rather than the immediate situation. Understanding this allows you to keep a clear head, seeing through attempts to manipulate you through emotional triggers. By subtly stirring up others' emotions while remaining calm yourself, you maintain the upper hand. Let their emotional reactions reveal their vulnerabilities, positioning yourself to act strategically. Staying composed keeps your power intact, allowing others' impulsiveness to work in your favor. Law 40. Despise the free lunch. Anything offered for free often has hidden obligations or agendas, making it more of a trap than a gift. Those who value power avoid free offers to maintain their independence, knowing these deals can lead to unwanted entanglements. By paying full price, they remain free from obligations, guilt, or deceit, and keep control of their choices. In the realm of power, generosity becomes a tool for influence. Spending strategically, whether through gifts or support, creates a sense of loyalty and indebtedness in others. Many powerful leaders throughout history understood that circulating wealth attracted admiration and allies, helping them maintain influence. Generosity strengthens alliances and subtly increases loyalty without direct demands. Money has a powerful psychological effect. It symbolizes status and respect. Those who spend freely project confidence, while those who hoard appear insecure, diminishing their power. By using money creatively, powerful individuals can shape relationships and establish authority without appearing controlling. The takeaway: avoid free offers that may cost you your freedom or authority. Instead, see payment as an investment in influence and independence. Use generosity wisely to build strong alliances, control the terms of every exchange, and signal strength through self-assured spending. Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. What happens first often feels more original and memorable than what follows. If you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you'll face the daunting challenge of needing to accomplish twice as much to be seen as their equal. This law underscores the importance of not getting trapped in the shadow of those who came before you, or being defined by a past you did not create. To secure power, establish your own name and identity by changing course and breaking away from their legacy. Sometimes this means challenging their memory or moving beyond their achievements to shine in your own way. Alexander the Great exemplified this strategy. His father, King Philip II of Macedon, was celebrated for uniting Greece and building a powerful military force. Alexander knew that merely replicating his father's accomplishments would only keep him under Philip's shadow. Instead, he set his sights far beyond Greece, embarking on a bold campaign that led to the conquest of the Persian Empire and the formation of one of history's largest empires. By achieving feats that outstripped his father's, Alexander carved out his own legacy and ensured that his name would stand apart. The lesson? Don't be confined by the legacy of those before you. Create your own path and distinct identity. Only by stepping out of their shadow can you achieve greatness on your own terms. Law 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Trouble often stems from a single influential individual, the instigator, the arrogant subordinate, or the spreader of discord. If you let such individuals persist, they will sway others and create a toxic environment. This law advises acting decisively by targeting the source of trouble to neutralize its impact. Negotiating or ignoring them won't work. They must be isolated or removed to prevent further disruption. Isolation can take many different forms: physical banishment, stripping political support, or psychological tactics like alienation through slander. Once isolated, the troublemaker's power weakens, and the rest of the group is less likely to resist. A historical example is seen in 16th century Peru, when Spanish conqueror Francisco Pizarro captured and executed Atahualpa, the Incan emperor. It caused chaos among the Incas. Atahualpa was revered not just as a leader, but as a near-divine figure whose presence unified his people. Once he was removed, the cohesion of the empire unraveled, and resistance to the Spanish conquest crumbled. His death signaled that a stronger force had seized power, and with their shepherd gone, the remaining Incas were left disorganized and leaderless. The takeaway: to maintain power and control, eliminate the source of dissent effectively. By doing so, you disrupt their network, prevent further issues, and reassert authority. Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Power gained through force breeds resentment, leading to rebellion. Instead, true power comes from winning over people's hearts and minds. By seducing others into willingly aligning with your goals, you create loyalty and lasting influence. Achieving this requires understanding individual psychologies and working on their emotional needs and fears. Those who feel ignored will eventually turn against you. Addressing their emotional and intellectual sides makes them allies rather than adversaries. Zhuge Liang, the famed strategist of Shu during China's Three Kingdoms era, exemplified this. Tasked with subduing the rebellious southern tribes led by King Menghuo, Liang could have relied on force. Instead, he chose psychological strategy and compassion. He captured Menghuo and his men multiple times, but instead of punishment, he treated them with dignity, fed them, and released them each time. This approach bewildered Menghuo, who expected harsh treatment. With each act of kindness, Liang weakened Menghuo's resolve until, after several captures and releases, Menghuo's defiance dissolved. Moved by Liang's unexpected mercy and wisdom, he willingly submitted and pledged loyalty. This surrender was genuine, turning a potential long-term enemy into a loyal ally and ensuring peace without bloodshed. The lesson: using emotional intelligence and goodwill transforms adversaries into supporters, while coercion breeds temporary obedience and seeds future opposition. Appealing to emotions fosters loyalty that endures, securing power in a way that force never could. Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. The mirror reflects reality, but can be the ultimate tool for deception. By mimicking the actions and attitudes of others, you create confusion, disarm them, and seize control. When you mirror your enemies, they struggle to decipher your strategy, feeling mocked and provoked into emotional overreactions. This tactic disorients them and forces them to confront themselves, revealing their true nature. The mirror effect seduces opponents by creating the illusion of shared values and teaches them lessons by reflecting their behavior back at them. There are 4 main types of mirror effects. The neutralizing effect involves copying your enemy's actions to obscure your strategy and provoke them. It serves as a powerful tool when you lack a clear strategy and need to gather information through observation. The narcissus effect reflects people's deepest feelings back to them, captivating them by mirroring their inner selves. This requires keen observation of gestures, expressions, and subtle details. The moral effect mirrors someone's behavior to make them realize its negative impact, holding up a reflection of their actions. Lastly, the hallucinatory effect involves creating a false copy or illusion, a favorite of con artists, to deceive and manipulate. Mirroring makes people think you share their goals, tapping into their narcissistic tendencies and creating attraction. Even if they suspect hidden motives, the mirror effect obscures your true intentions while also conserving your mental energy. By simply reflecting what others do, you avoid the mental strain of constantly deciding on your own moves. Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Change is necessary for growth, but introducing too much at once can trigger resistance and rebellion. People are creatures of habit, comforted by the familiar. This law stresses that when in power, especially as a newcomer, respecting traditions is crucial. Reforms should be gradual and framed as improvements to minimize resistance. Sweeping changes provoke anxiety and pushback. Mao Zedong, leader of the Chinese Communist Party and founding father of the People's Republic of China in 1949, exemplified this. In his speeches, Mao frequently referenced past Chinese history, such as Emperor Qin, who unified China in the 3rd century BC. Qin was known for harsh measures and viewed as a brutal dictator with a short reign. Mao's genius lay in reinterpreting Qin's legacy to fit his narrative. He positioned himself as a modern counterpart who, like Qin, unified the country and pursued bold reforms. By aligning himself with Qin's legacy, Mao justified the violence and radical changes he was implementing, framing them as a continuation of past greatness rather than a break from it. The lesson: advocate for change in a way that respects history and what people know. This secures trust and support while ensuring that reforms are accepted as natural progress, avoiding rebellion. Law 46. Never appear too perfect. Striving for perfection is dangerous, as it breeds envy and suspicion. Appearing flawless invites resentment from those who feel overshadowed. It's naive to believe flaunting success will charm others. Instead, it stirs envy. People struggle with feelings of inferiority, often masking envy as excessive praise, sarcastic jokes, or criticism. Admitting envy is difficult, as it implies inferiority. Preventing envy is easier than dispelling it. To mitigate it, be mindful of your actions. Avoid showing off accomplishments and downplay successes by attributing them to luck, making them seem more attainable. Display harmless flaws or emphasize the burdens and sacrifices of your position. This makes you appear more relatable, reducing resentment. Sharing your success can turn envy into admiration, but must be done carefully. Those who already envy you may view such gestures as condescending. When experiencing sudden success or power, those most likely to envy you are friends or peers who once viewed you as an equal. In such cases, finding new circles may be necessary if envy becomes overwhelming. Recognizing envy in yourself can be redirected as motivation to improve, but accepting that there will always be others better than you is essential. Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. The moment of victory is often the moment of greatest peril. Success can lead to arrogance and overconfidence, tempting you to push beyond your original goal. This overreach risks making more enemies than you defeat and can result in losing everything gained. There is no substitute for strategy and careful planning. Once you achieve your goal, resist the urge to go further and let success go to your head. Cyrus the Great, founder of the Persian Empire, exemplified this peril. After conquering powerful kingdoms like the Medes, Lydia, and Babylon, Cyrus believed in his own invincibility and set his sights on the Massagetae, a fierce tribe led by Queen Tomyris. Despite Tomyris's warning to be content with his vast empire, Cyrus pressed on. He set a trap with a feast to weaken her forces, successfully capturing her son, who later took his own life out of shame. Enraged, Tomyris vowed revenge, leading her army to a decisive victory where Cyrus was killed. She fulfilled her promise by placing his severed head in a wineskin filled with blood, symbolizing the price of overreaching ambition. The lesson: know when to stop. In victory, show restraint and consolidate your gains. Pushing too far invites unforeseen challenges and can turn triumph into disaster. Law 48. Assume formlessness. True power comes from adaptability and formlessness. When you take a clear shape or have an obvious plan, you become an easy target. By staying formless, others exhaust themselves trying to figure you out, while you remain unpredictable and ready to act. In martial arts, victory comes from hidden strategies, unexpected movements, and plans that cannot be countered. A skilled leader wins by being wise and leaving no trace of their strategy. To achieve formlessness, don't take things personally or show defensiveness. This keeps your true feelings and weaknesses hidden. Formlessness also makes you easier to follow as a leader, because people don't feel pressured to fit into strict expectations. In a constantly changing world, being adaptable is essential. Large, inflexible entities often fail because they are predictable and slow to respond. As you age, it's tempting to rely on familiar habits, but this makes you vulnerable. Staying formless helps you remain flexible and resilient. Formlessness is an active tool for power. It's not just going along with whatever happens. Wise leaders use it to stay hidden so that no one can predict their next move. And that wraps up this series on The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. As I reflect on the book, it got me thinking deeper about power and how it shapes our world. This book isn't a how-to guide. It's an unfiltered look at power dynamics, requiring independent judgment from the reader. Without critical thinking, its lessons could be seen as ruthless or manipulative. Remember, power, like any tool, is neutral. Its impact depends on the wielder's intent. One thing Greene's work doesn't address is whether seeking power is inherently worthwhile. It assumes everyone desires it. But that's a topic I'll explore in a future discussion. For now, my hope is that you approach these laws with ethics and use them to contribute positively to society. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this series and want more thought-provoking content, be sure to follow my channel for insights that challenge and expand your understanding. Until next time.